Welcome to Church Words, understanding God through definition. If you're like me, you may have grown up in a Protestant church and heard these words throughout your life, but also, like me, never took the time to completely understand their meanings, or you may be new to the Christian faith, and I hope this podcast helps to bridge the divide between understanding and strengthening your relationship with God. Today, we're discussing the word Christmas. Maybe it's the time of the year, the cold weather for most, the smell of cinnamon, pine trees, and for kids, the presents, and for adults too sometimes. But for Christians, Christmas is about Christ's birth. And then all the other stuff. But the word Christmas is another word not found in the Bible. We created it to commemorate Jesus' birth. In fact, the Bible makes no mention where we should or shouldn't celebrate his birth. The word Christmas comes from the Latin phrase Cristes Maesse. And I probably mispronounced that, but work with me here, which means Mass of Christ or Christ's Mass. Mass means a celebration of the Eucharist, where Christians consume bread and drink wine, referring to the Last Supper. That's where the word Eucharist comes into play. It's also got Catholic definitions and backgrounds. I know most Protestant churches don't necessarily drink wine, but will drink and consume juice, a grape juice usually. Finally, the word Christ is derived from the word Khristos, which is Greek, and when translated from Hebrew, we get the term Messiah, which means anointed. The definitions are based on how the Catholic Church translated the root words from Hebrew to Latin to Greek and finally to English. And I'm out of breath. Well, now that we have that out of the way, to some the word Christmas evokes more of a feeling, sometimes peace, remembrance of a relative long gone, and the promise of the Messiah. We often reference Christmas as it relates to the announcement of Christ's birth from the books of Matthew and Luke. Matthew 1:18 says, "Now the birth of Jesus, the Messiah, was as follows. When his mother Mary had been betrothed to Joseph, before they came together, she was found to be pregnant by the Holy Spirit. And her husband Joseph, since he was a righteous man and did not want to disgrace her, planned to send her away secretly. But when he had thought this over, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream, saying, 'Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, for the child who has been conceived in her is of the Holy Spirit. She will give birth to a son, and you shall name him Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins.' Now all this took place so that what was written by the Lord through the prophet would be fulfilled. Behold, the virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they shall name him Emmanuel," which translates, God with us. And Joseph awoke from his dream and did as the angel of the Lord commanded him, and took Mary as his wife, but kept her a virgin until she gave birth to a son, and he named him Jesus. Now Luke 2:1-7 provides another angle and says, "Now in those days a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that a census be taken of all the inhabited earth. This was the first census taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. And all the people were on their way to register for the census, each to his own city. Now Joseph also went up from Galilee, from the city of Nazareth to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and family of David, in order to register along with Mary, who was betrothed to him and was pregnant. While they were there, the time came for her to give birth. And she gave birth to her firstborn son, and she wrapped him in cloths and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn." Now, it's the same story, just taken from different books, taken from different authors' perspectives. Now, I do encourage you to read the first few chapters of Matthew and Luke to understand the whole story. While much of our culture wraps itself in the spectacle of Santa, elves, and presents, to quote a popular phrase from my youth, we must not forget the reason for the season, and that reason is Jesus. While society may place a different value on the word Christmas, remember, this word has no spiritual relevance if you do not know Christ. I encourage you to do so by listening to episode 1 of this podcast series and then consult with your local Bible-believing church. Also, as always, if you have any questions or comments, please reach out by emailing churchwords@thomasmiller.me. As always, thanks for listening.